Hi, Bill Barney here with All Things Possible. Thanks for joining us for another episode on our TV channel. Today, we are going to be talking about a really cool subject. Going from head to heart, living in the heart, or living from the heart. And you've heard people say, get out of your head, or you're stuck in your head, or you have analysis paralysis, or come from the heart, listen to your heart. How do we do that? I mean, it all sounds good. It sounds good. You know, what does my head want? What does my heart want? But how do we truly live from the heart? Because when we do this, we live a much happier and fulfilled life. Whenever you're feeling emotions of jealousy, hate, anger, sadness, a sense of worthlessness, these are all feelings that we analyze it and they generate from the head. When we're actually living from the heart and living from spirit, these feelings don't live there, and we operate at a higher frequency, and we don't live in those lower emotions and these things that make life hard for us. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today, is what it is to live from the heart. Now, if you go back to some of the phrases in the Bible, it talks about the heart an awful lot there. In fact, the word heart is mentioned 830 times in the Bible, and yet in only a few of those instances is the word referring to this actual blood pump. You could actually substitute the word mind or subconscious mind for the word heart, and it would maybe even make more sense to you. For example, the scripture, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Okay, there's something about that, and I don't believe it was just symbolism or something like that. I really believe there's an intelligence in our heart, that this is the seat of our soul, our spirit comes from here. And when we operate from the heart, that's the way we were intended. This type of beings, that's the way we are intended, is to operate from the heart. In fact, there's a great intelligence in the heart, and you know, everybody thinks, oh, it's all about the brain and the mind, the subconscious mind, all that. This is where everything that we are comes from. But yet you've heard the stories of people who have received organ transplants, specifically heart transplants, who when they get done with these transplants, almost find themselves maybe with new personality traits, or a desire or a like in food. They like something different. That seems to be something new for them, and when they can trace that back to the donor, they will find out that those were attributes and traits of the donor, that intelligence comes with that heart that comes through. And so, yeah, when we can operate from the heart, we're doing so much better. You know, through the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of movies that come out, science fiction movies, with a common theme of computers or computerized machines taking over the world. Some of the great ones you may remember were Terminator, the whole series of Terminator, Tron, War Games, The Matrix, iRobot, Space Odyssey. There were so many of these movies, and they were great movies, and it was fun science fiction to pretend. But I believe there was a real fear at the time, because that was just when we started to have these computers accessible to each of us in our homes, and they could do such amazing things. There was a lot of worry that our computer's going to start thinking for themselves and take over the world, and hence this whole genre of science fiction movies was spawned, and we had all these great movies from it. Well, we know that's science fiction, that's pretend, and that's for fun. I don't believe computers are going to get to that point. But in a very real sense and on a personal level, I think that's a battle that all of us are struggling with. And it's one of the things to overcome here in this life, is the fact that our brains have taken over our hearts. And our brains are the computers, and our hearts are the spirits. So just like the computers would take over and run things for man on earth, who we really are, our spirit, who we really reside, this analytical thought processing brain takes over and starts running that. So how do you tell if your brain has taken over? Well, when you're stuck in the lower emotions. Any of these lower emotions, the things that you don't want to feel, and you're feeling that, anytime you're doing something you don't want to do, your brain is running the show. That's not your spirit. That's a good indication of that. Your brain is actually the world's finest supercomputer. Your subconscious mind can process 20 billion bits of information per second. 20 billion. That's a lot of information. It's the world's finest supercomputer. And I want to compare that to our mind. Now, on a computer, we have a couple of different types of memory. The first one is the RAM. It's called random access memory. You may have heard how many gigs of RAM or whatever you have. But that's a temporary memory. It holds temporary information as you're working on your computer. When you need to pull back information, it digs into the hard drive and pulls up that information. I believe that's what our conscious mind, many times, it'll pull the memories up out of the subconscious. But it's loosely, we can compare it to RAM on your computer. The subconscious mind, if we compare that to the hard drive, that's where on your hard drive on your computer, that's where all of our programming and our memories reside, just like on the computer. That's where your files and your programming resides. One common misconception, I want to clear that up right now, about your subconscious mind. Nobody lives there. Nobody's home. If somebody ever looked at you and said nobody's home, and they were referring to your subconscious mind, they were absolutely right. Your subconscious mind is just a tape player. It's just a recording of programming. That's all there is in there, is that tape player. Just a collection of your memories and programming. It is there to serve you. You are an intelligent being incorporated with a spiritual body. Your intelligence also connected to this physical body. But your subconscious mind is not who you are. It is there to serve you, to help you process and recall information. But you, as that intelligence, that being, should be the master of the subconscious mind. But when the subconscious mind takes over, that's when we have life with a lot of challenges, right? So your subconscious mind is part of your body. It is not who you are. Your subconscious mind will serve you. It'll help you learn complex tasks. Remember the first time you learned to ride a bicycle or drive a car, so much concentration. And with the bicycle, I hope there was a lot more crashes than when you learned to drive a car. But as we learn these complex maneuvers and muscle memory, we was downloading all this information into our subconscious mind, to where now you can jump on a bicycle, get in your car, you can be having a conversation, messing with the stereo, doing all these things all at the same time, and we drive the car or the bicycle almost automatically because our subconscious mind has learned this programming and it's taken over. It's running things automatically, and that is, exactly what the subconscious mind is designed to do. So back to a computer, just to kind of continue on with this comparison. On the computer hard drive, there's two types of memory. One of them is ROM, stands for read-only memory. We could compare this in, and what read-only memory is the memory that comes, it's your factory firmware that comes programmed on your computer when you first bring it home from the store, right? And so that's your programming and the things there, and then you start adding in programming. For the ROM, we're born with certain memories. We're born with certain programmings. A lot of that is in our autonomic nervous system. That would be your breathing, your heart rate, your immune system, all these things, cellular regeneration when we get hurt or something like that. That's all part of our autonomic nervous system. It's all programmed in. There's also some other memories that come programmed in, and sometimes these can be a little bit detrimental to us, but there's ways to heal them, and we'll get to that. But these are generational or inherited memories, and memories from before that don't belong to us, that came through at the moment we were conceived. And these memories might be fears, limiting beliefs, and such like that, but we're born with those memories, and that would be in a computer compared to our ROM, or the read-only memory. A computer has another type of memory that's called a programmable read-only memory. And what that is, that allows the user, the computer user, the common guys like us, to make changes and input information into the computer that becomes part of the hard drive software, that becomes part of the base programming for the computer, so it'll react in certain ways that we want it to. We have programmable memories that program into us as we go through life. Did you know that a child up until age 6 is operating at the brain wavelengths of alpha and theta? Those are very low, they're lower frequency brain waves than what we normally operate in, than what you're listening in now, or I'm operating in as I talk. These are brain waves that we're in when we're under hypnosis. And a child up until age 6 is basically under hypnosis. So everything goes in without a filter. And so all of the memories all the experiences that a child had just goes in automatically, no filtering whatsoever. So when you have significant childhood events, this can be good programming, but a lot of times programming is misconstrued because children take things so literally because of the process that the brain is operating in. For example, that you can tell a child this fantastic story about this magical guy that wears a red suit and has a white beard and a big belly and flies around in the sky with 8 tiny reindeer and a sleigh, and he visits every single child on the earth in one night, comes down their chimney, whether or not they have a chimney, he comes down their chimney and leaves them the exact presents that they asked for, and he does this for every boy and girl in the world. Have you ever heard of a 3-year-old hearing that story and going, "No, you know what, Mom, I just don't think that's true"? Of course not. They just swallow that up. They go, "Wow, excited," and they start making their list, and you can actually get them to be good through the month of December, or at least a couple days before Christmas you can get them to be good, right? With this great story. And they just buy this hook, line, and sinker. And it isn't until they reach about the age of 7 or 8 that they start to process, and they start thinking, they go, "You know what? How does Santa really do all this?" And they start analyzing, and then they start questioning this fantastic story. Well, incidentally, about 7 or 8 is when we start to operate in the higher brain wavelengths, which is delta, not beta, which is beta that we're in right now, or that we normally operate in beta. And that's to rationalize the thinking mind, right? So now consider this same child that every child that's been told the Santa story believed it for several years and had a great time with that story. And that's all fun. I think it's, for the most part, pretty harmless. Maybe some parental trust issues, but people deal with that in their own individual ways. But consider this same child, 4 years old, in the grocery store with Mom. They go through the candy aisle, and the child starts throwing a fit, begging Mom, "Mom, I want candy, I want a candy bar, I want a candy bar, I want a candy bar." And, Mother, of course, gets embarrassed. She's frazzled. Her back is sore from pushing the cart, and she's a little bit short-tempered with this ill-mannered child who is now embarrassing her in front of here in the grocery store aisle. It's like, "Mom, I want some." She says, "No, you can't have any." And of course, what's the child's next question? "Why, Mom? Why can't I have any?" Well, Mom, in frustration, could say, "You know what? Because I don't have enough money to buy candy, and you don't deserve any candy anyway, because you've been bad." Okay, and the child's like, does whatever it does, continues throwing the fit till it figures it's not going to get the candy, and they go on out the grocery store. Well, that automatically is programmed right into the child's subconscious mind. Mom's like, "Oh, finally, I got the kid to be quiet and to quit begging." But this child is now automatically accepted 4 new permanent programs. The first one is, it tells them that there's not enough money in the world. Second program, if there is enough money, there's not enough for them. And third, it tells them that they don't deserve good things in life. And the fourth thing they believe is they're bad. And they just take that in without filtering. Well, the child may never go back and think about this like they do the Santa story every year, but just as real, it becomes part of their programming. It becomes part of this programming that gets on their hard drive that programs and runs their life. So imagine this. We're trying to change, here we are, we're adults. We're trying to change our habits. We're trying to change our behaviors. And we're doing this through processes like declarations, goals, affirmations, and positive thinking. And those are good, awesome, keep doing them. But we're processing them in our conscious mind, hoping that it will bleed down into the subconscious mind. And it does work. There are more efficient ways. But it's tough to get it to overcome that. Here's the reason. The conscious mind processes information at 40 bits of information per second. The subconscious, again, processes at 20 million bits of information per second. I believe I said billion before. Let's change it to million, okay, if you remember that. 20 million bits of information per second. That's a disparity of, it's a big disparity. That's 500,000 times more powerful on the subconscious mind over the conscious mind. So if you've got one that's 500 times more powerful, 500,000 times more powerful, which one do you think is going to win if there's any conflict? The subconscious mind will win every time when we go on into automatic programming. And that's why it's so hard to give up addictions, to change behaviors, to change our thought patterns. And a lot of times we don't even know what those thought patterns are, what makes us behave the way we do, right? So now you've got the same child that threw a fit in the grocery store. Later in life, he becomes a man, and he's got serious money issues. He's passed over time and again for promotions. He never gets recognition. He has low self-esteem, all because of this programming that's part of that. He won't even associate the one with the other. All he knows is that life isn't fair and there's not enough money. And he doesn't believe that he can actually get that deep down in his heart. And he may get up every morning and say, there is an abundance of money in the world, and I receive an abundance of money, and all of these things. But he's trying to overcome this deep, deep programming. And so that's the problem, where we get stuck in our head and we're doing things we don't want to do. And he has these self-sabotaging, counterproductive virus programs, just like a virus in a computer. So anytime, let me say this clearly, anytime you do something that you don't want to do, it's because you have a faulty program. Let me say it one more time. Anytime you do something that you don't want to do, you have a faulty program in your subconscious mind. So if you find yourself stuck in lower emotions, where you're always angry or upset or sad or whatever that is, jealousy, and you're feeling these emotions and you don't want to feel them, if you have behaviors that you don't want, if you have addictions, if you can't stop eating chocolate or knitting or whatever that is, if you have addictions and you're doing things you don't want to do, it's because there's a subconscious program. You have a faulty program somewhere in your subconscious mind. So there are several methods available to fix this. Now, if we're dealing back with the computer, you have all these antivirus search, seek, and destroy programs, right, that could go in and reprogram the computer. How do we do that with our brain? We don't have a port in our ear where we can plug the cable in and go in and rewrite those programs. But yet there are several healing methods that I've found, healing modalities, that I think are very effective. I've found them to be very effective for healing the memories of the heart and healing these subconscious faulty programs in the subconscious mind, so we don't have things that are different than what we believe we truly are, who we are as a spirit being. And we can more easily not get stuck in our head and operate from our heart, where we operate in spirit, where we can listen to inspiration, and where we operate at higher levels. So some of the programs that I have, some of my favorite ones are removing the heart wall with emotion code. I love the body code. There's body talk, healing code, soul link, EFT tapping, and rapid eye movement. Just to name a few, there's all these programs, and they work at healing things at the level of the subconscious mind, healing the underlying things that are going on. So rather than taking medications or all these kind of things, they're trying to use just willpower to overcome any behavior that we don't want to have. Go in and reprogram, get rid of the viruses in the computer of our subconscious mind, and you can live a lot happier and more fulfilled life, and live naturally from the heart. Thanks for listening. That's kind of the information I have for you today. It is possible to live from the heart, but in order to do that, you need to heal the memories in the subconscious mind. And they may be inherited memories. They may not even be your own. But through use of an intuitive, or through using your intuition, you can find those, clear them, and heal them. And that's my message for you today. So remember, last thing, anytime you do something that you don't want to do, it's because you have a faulty programming in your memories. And it's as simple as that. So it goes beyond just using your willpower, beyond taking medication. heal the faulty programming, correct the viruses, and life will be a lot better. So, hey, thanks for listening. I'm glad you stayed with me. Okay, thanks. Have a great day. We'll see you later.